Good evening, and welcome to all of you. The Collegium, from the beginning, has been an exercise in submission to God's will and trust in His providence. That submission and trust has been rewarded with 3 successful years and the start of a successful 4th year. At this point, it seems that God's providence is leading us in a new direction, that we might more fully follow His will for us. In this video, I will share with you that new direction. But first, I would like to place the Collegium in the context of higher education today. Then, I will give you a short presentation about the history of the Collegium, our present situation, and most importantly, the coming years. So with regard to the Collegium in the context of higher education today, if an economist were asked to pinpoint the worst possible time to open a college, he might well choose today. The current models of higher education are unsustainable financially. The 18-year-old population is shrinking dramatically. Colleges are closing across the country. At least 72 have closed since 2020. A typical university education emphasizes a purely pragmatic and practical basis to education without any consideration of first principles or spiritual formation. On the other hand, if God were asked to pinpoint the best possible time to open a college, He might well choose today. Most Catholic universities today are Catholic in name only, offering an entirely secular campus culture, and families and young adults are searching for an authentic Catholic college experience that these colleges have lost. The 18-year-old population lacks opportunities for the education and spiritual formation it needs to weather the challenges of a modernist society and ultimately to attain heaven. The country needs a college that will prepare young adults for the spiritual leadership of the next generation. And young adults need the opportunity for this education and formation in a way that will not cripple them financially. The Collegium has embarked on a humanly questionable quest to fulfill a divinely inspired mission. Let me give you now a short summary of our brief history and of our promising future, because with God, all things are possible. Collegium's journey began in 2014 during a dinner discussion about the decline in the Catholicity of Catholic higher education, and especially the abandonment of tradition in practice, teaching, and belief. The decision was made at that dinner to start a small Catholic college that was steadfastly committed to faithful traditional Catholicism. In 2015, the Collegium was formally organized as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Plans were laid to open in the fall of 2019 in Ocala, Florida, but several challenges delayed the opening. 4 years later, in 2020, a visit to Hagerstown, Maryland, led to fortuitous meetings with the Archbishop of Baltimore and the pastor of St. Mary's in Hagerstown, both of whom welcomed the Collegium to the Archdiocese and to Hagerstown. The following year, the Collegium opened for classes with 9 full-time students. The first 3 years gave us the opportunity to refine a unique model of education and formation. The quality and dedication of our students today affirms that our model works, that we are doing the right thing, and that we are doing God's work. In January of 2024, we were preparing to welcome a freshman class of about 15 students and a total enrollment of over 20, more than double the previous year's enrollment. However, in March of 2024, we were informed that the Archbishop would not be requesting an extension of the indult for the traditional Mass in Hagerstown that was scheduled to expire at the end of July. As a result, our freshman class fell, but our fall enrollment still grew to 13. During the spring and summer of 2024, we worked tirelessly, asking the Archbishop to rethink his position, offering the Archbishop solutions that would have allowed us to have the traditional Latin Mass and remain within the parameters of Traditionis Custodes. In the end, we were told either to change our mission or find someplace else to attend Mass. Attending Mass somewhere else is not impossible in the short term. We are within an hour of 3 parishes in other states that offer the traditional Latin Mass. However, it will not work long term when the student population grows. In addition, it would limit access to the Mass and to the sacramental life to once a week on Sunday. Thus, this is not an acceptable solution. Also, changing our mission is not possible. On a practical level, it would render us indistinguishable from several other small, conservative Catholic colleges, making it questionable as to why we exist. More importantly, it would change us ontologically. To steal some terminology from that great philosopher Obi-Wan Kenobi, our mission surrounds and penetrates us. It binds us together. It is what gives us our meaning, our purpose. If we change our mission, we are no longer the Collegium. Thus, this is not an acceptable solution. We were left then with only one solution: to relocate. We set the criteria for a new location. Let me share these with you. A church is ground zero for us. It must be staffed by a traditional religious order. This gives us at least the illusion of a little more safety from the wrath of Traditionis Custodes. The church must be within walking distance of Collegium housing and other facilities. Housing, in turn, must be within walking distance of the church and academic space. Regarding academic space, we need 4 or 5 classrooms, offices, and space for a library. We also need dining space that will eventually accommodate 100 or more students. We need wholesome things for students to do outside of class time, and we need opportunities for students to have internships within walking distance of the campus in order to support our Ora et Labora work program. We studied about 65 locations across the country, evaluating each of them against these criteria. We came up with a short list of 9 potential locations and visited all of them. We are now focused on a final location. I say final, but all the arrangements have not yet been completed, so let me share with you the details that I have regarding this location, and then walk you through what must happen for the location to become certain. And now, the moment for which you have been waiting. The Collegium plans to relocate to Kansas City, Missouri. First, let me show you a map of the proposed campus so that you have a spatial orientation. I will also show you some pictures of the various facilities. Then I will share with you our evaluation of Kansas City against the criteria. This is a map of downtown Kansas City. Old St. Patrick's Oratory, the Kansas home of the Institute of Christ the King, in the upper right portion of the screen, is here. Across the street, there are 2 condominium buildings with adequate condos for rent or for sale to take care of our needs. Directly behind St. Patrick's is the old public library, which is currently leased to the Ozark National Life Insurance Company. Ozark Life only occupies 25,000 square feet of the 60,000 square foot building, and there is ample space for us in the unused portion of the building. There is also a building 3 blocks away, the Gatsby Building, in the center of the screen, that could provide us with temporary dining facilities until such time as we could furnish the Ozark Life Building with a kitchen. Also, there is a large open green space between the Gatsby Building and the Ozark Life Building for various student activities. On the left side of the screen, you see a long strip running north and south labeled as the Arts and Entertainment District. This strip is less than a 10-minute walk from the campus facilities. In the center of this district lies what is called the Power and Light District, with movie theaters, a playhouse, a country western performance venue, the Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts, a grocery store, and many shops and restaurants. On the north end of this district, above the map, is the Old City Market. 125 years ago, this was an open-air farmers market. Today, there are still some open-air vendors, but there are also many unusual shops and restaurants. At the south end of the district, below the map, is Union Station. Today, Union Station houses museums, shops, and restaurants. The entire district is connected by a free trolley that runs every 10 minutes. Here are a few pictures of some of the areas just described. In the upper left part of the screen is Old St. Patrick's Oratory. Just behind St. Patrick's, on the left side of the screen, you can see the edge of the old public library. To the north of St. Patrick's, in the background of the picture, is the AT&T building, which is currently being converted into luxury apartments. In the upper right part of the screen is one of the condominium buildings. You can also see the AT&T building in the background. This will give you some perspective as the proximity of the condos to the church. In the lower right corner of the screen is the altar of St. Patrick's, and in the lower left corner of the screen is a frontal view of St. Patrick's. Also behind the large pine tree on the side of the church, you can see the old public library. Here on the left is the front entrance of the old public library. On the upper right is the lobby, and on the lower right is the ceiling of one of the large reading rooms. You can see that this is a grand 19th century building. It will provide an appropriate and beautiful space for the study of the great questions facing humanity. Now let me walk you through the criteria and how this location meets them. The church is staffed by a religious order. This does not protect it completely from the wrath of Traditionis Custodes, but it does offer perhaps one step of greater protection. However, there is also a priestly fraternity parish not too far away, and if everything comes crashing down, there is a Society for Pius X Oratory in Kansas City. The church, housing, and academic spaces are within the space of a city block. There is dining space in the Ozark Life Building, but not a commercial kitchen. That can come in the future. In the meantime, the Gatsby Building is a 3-minute walk. About 7/10 of a mile from St. Patrick's, there is the 2-mile strip that I just described to you as the Arts and Entertainment District. And downtown Kansas City is a vibrant downtown. There are many opportunities for us to continue the Ora et Labora program there. In addition, the Institute of Christ the King is very excited about the possibility of the Collegium locating in Kansas City. There is also a large and vibrant traditional community there, many members of which have been working behind the scenes to help facilitate our move to Kansas City. In our last trip to Kansas City, we stayed in the home of a mother of 12 children and 44 grandchildren under the age of 12, and 108 nieces and nephews, most of whom live in the area. The possibility of recruiting students from the local area is high if we stay true to our mission. The bishop is tradition friendly. For one example, he set up the Benedictines of Mary in Gower, about an hour north, as independently as possible so that a future bishop could not dismantle their convent. Now, what must happen for this location to be finalized? There are 3 small wrinkles that have yet to be worked out. Number 1, we are still waiting for a large pledge that will fund us for several years until we grow to a critical and sustainable size. This pledge is dependent upon the licensing of several pharmaceutical patents. The benefactor and a Japanese company have an agreement for the licensing. We are now waiting for the lawyers to finish the paperwork. We expect this to be completed by the end of this calendar year, that is, the end of 2024. And our expectation is that the pledge will materialize shortly after the contract is signed. But as I said, everything is dependent upon this pledge. Number 2, we have not yet met with the bishop. I have every expectation that the bishop will be supportive, but I have not yet had that meeting. And number 3, we have submitted all the paperwork required by the Missouri Department of Higher Education for the approval needed to operate the Collegium in Missouri. We don't anticipate any difficulties, but there will likely be questions, verification of information, and a site visit. While we are confident of approval, we don't have any way to control the timeline. As we progress on this momentous venture, we will keep everyone apprised of our progress. Please keep the Collegium and our mission in your prayers. Thank you, and may God bless you.